Imagine waking up to fully researched leads and AI drafted replies that work 24/7. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take replies that you get from cold outreach like instantly, enrich that data, and then come up with a customized, personalized response, including things like your case studies and success stories that are going to help you convert those leads into sales. In this video, we're using Instantly AI and Zapier. You can use any tools you want, N8N, Make, it doesn't matter, and it'll work very similar. A lot of what I'm going to do in this video is show you the overarching architecture and design of what I'm doing, and that can be implemented in whatever tool you're really using. So let's jump in. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try not to get too technical with this, but have you understand if there is code where it needs to go and then what the goal of this is. One of the things that we did was we didn't make ours fully automated because there's certain things that were harder to do when working with the AI agent was custom scheduling. Now we use scheduling links, but sometimes people want to schedule back and forth, and you can build that all in with the AI agent. There's just a lot of things, and we are ultra high ticket and wanted to just really personalize this. So ours is almost automated. We could turn it on to fully automated, but this is just what my team wanted to do. So it takes them, it went from our replies taking hours a day down to minutes. So I think it's a really good compromise. Now in this Zapier automation, the first thing we do is we have the trigger, which is going to be instantly in this case. You can use Smart Leads or any other software. So it really works with just, it's capturing any replies that are coming in. From there, we're classifying this. So all these tools already have classifications set up, and I'll show you exactly how this looks in a minute. We'll go back through each step and walk through it, but I wanted to really teach you what we're doing. So here we're classifying the actual step as basically hot, hard no, etc., unsubscribe. And the really only thing we're doing here is filtering out those unsubscribes. They're getting put here and they're getting put onto the block list and subscribed automatically. You can also do that in a lot of these tools. We wanted a catch so it doesn't waste all the tokens and leads and whatnot. So once it goes through that path and determines if they're qualified. Okay, so what we're doing here, I didn't name everything in this, so I might pause and name things as I go through, but we're updating the URL. So we're going to enrich data, and to do that, we are going to use tools like Apify and a few other ones that you'll see in a second, but they have to be formatted correctly. So to use Apify, we needed the HTTPS whatever format. So this is literally is just coming in here and we're doing that specific thing as we're formatting that into a full website URL. So from there, we're using Apify to scrape the website and gather all the information. We're just scraping the home page because our goal is to enrich our conversation and make it look like exactly what would you want an SDR to do if they're really kind of a high paid, high quality SDR. So you get a lead come in, they would go Google the lead's name, they would Google the company, they'd go to the website, they learn about it, and then they would reply with little nuggets of whatever they did to really intentionally personalize that. And one of the things about it is too much personalization turns people away because it's long, it looks weird. You still want a very short, concise. So sometimes that personalization is only 1 or 2 words and you have to find maybe an award they got, something like that, that's just really going to be able to enrich it. And it's very custom depending on who you're talking to. So we're scraping that. Then we're using Serper.Dev, which is basically a way to Google through API. And I had another video specifically on how to do that, but I'll show you again here as we step through it. So we're Googling the company name, then we're using these 2 steps to summarize it and make it a little bit more formatted so that way we can use it later. So basically it's just taking the 2 and getting a company portfolio or profile of description of the company through the updated internet searches. So these are both live searches, so the website and Google instantly. Then same thing, we're Googling the lead. In here, we're using their name, their title, and the company name. So ideally we're getting custom information about that specific person, but also mildly related to the business. Same thing here. Again, we're then going to customize this and just get a description of that person so we can enrich it later. Now here's where the magic happens. So that's honestly the hardest part, is these steps of enriching the data so that you can get better replies. Then you need to train AI on your company information. So we're using a tool called GPT Trainer. You can do this with OpenAI and an assistant. There's a lot of different ways to do this. GPT Trainer, which I'll show you in a little bit, has some advantages that I like, where it can kind of scrape entire websites and auto updates a lot of the files. So that was something that I wanted to use versus kind of a stagnant file. So if I update my website, it automatically updates the knowledge base, especially on case studies, things like that, because our case studies are living documents and they're always changing and they're through our website. So we wanted to match this to a case study because a lot of times people reply and we say, hey, thank you so much. You remind me of this case study. We give them a link, blah, blah. Here's the results we were able to get. I think we can do similar for you. And we get really, really good results with that. But the thing is, our SDR basically had to Google that company again, go find a case study that was similar. They had to know all of our case studies, and then they had to go copy and paste all the results and customize this every single time, because we have over 100 case studies and we really want to get to as close as possible. So if it's financial, we want to get to a financial company. But then if it's, a one-person firm versus a 100-person firm, all these little things make small differences in that conversion and getting someone to actually book a call with us. So that's really what we were looking to do here. Then we take all of this information, all of the enrichment, and we basically put this back into another GPT trainer conversation where we're literally taking all of the enrichment. So the company information, the lead information, the case study, and then the sample reply. So this is the reply that they sent to us saying, whether they're interested or they're not interested, whatever that looks like. And then from there, our AI will look at our knowledge base, look at our website, look at our terms of service, and then come up with a curated response. And we've also trained this AI on how to be a professional salesperson. We told them how creative to be, how concise to be, when to use links, when not to use links. All of these things make huge differences. And for us, we had trouble getting consistency across the board. We have a lot of people, our account executives are replying to leads. We have SDRs, sales development reps, replying to leads. We have VAs replying to leads. And so we just wanted a way to get them really good examples so that way they can quickly get better, more enriched data. So from there, the next couple pieces of this is really just formatting. We'll go through this in more depth, but basically what I'm doing at this point is I'm formatting it. I'm turning things into HTML. I'm looking up the salesperson that it's assigned to, because we did something unique where each one of our salespeople has basically not their own account, their own campaigns, and then it'll automatically match the campaign to that person. So instead of making them do cold calls, we set up that they're doing 300 outbound emails a day, and then it'll automatically help them reply. So what we're able to do is take an account executive who is a closer and basically help them make sure that their pipeline is booked solid, but in their name, which helps with that conversion ratio, and they can use their own custom list and relations. One of the relations that I used was my alumni. So I won an award at my university, and I was able to reach out to everyone that had ever won that award. And I did this strategy, and it was only 600 people that ever won the award, but I made 10 sales. And so those ultra customized, personalized communications with things that you have that relationship with do a lot better. So that's where a lot of this comes in, and you won't need a lot of these steps. I did forget to mention that if you guys want this exact automation, there's a link to subscribe down below, and you'll find all of my automations that I built out throughout my entire YouTube, and this one will be in there, and I'll have a title similar to this. So if you're already lost, go ahead and grab that and you can start working through it with me. So right now we have a spreadsheet basically with all of our salespeople and all of the information, and we're going to use that to enrich this data even further to make sure that it's replying as that salesperson. It's using their correct link. We're using UTMs, which are just saying where it came from. So that way we know it came from cold email, it came from their campaign, so we can get tracking credit. And then a lot of these are just literally formatting, and there's easier ways to do this, but I'm formatting it and I'm putting it into finally Asana. And in Asana, they get everything they need to answer that lead. So here's an example. And basically, this is formatted so that in the future we can make it fully automated if we want. But right now we're trying to get to that 95% success rate, which we're getting really close to. We're at about a 92% when tracking it, where people are just approving. And then we're gonna basically have a button where they can manually just say approve. And then from there, it'll go full auto eventually is kind of the goal. But this is an example of what this looks like. A lot of this is only set up so that you can make it full auto in the future. But basically, the sales team gets an email with a link directly to Instantly. This will open it up in the workspace, that exact lead, and then all they have to do is basically copy and paste this response. We give it an HTML because that way the links are already set up there and it's all formatted. So a little bit of a manual step there, which you can fully automate. That would be another video. Basically, we'll take the two and put them together. But this is the final result. And then I'll show you what the Instantly workspace looks like. So this is really kind of high targeted, personalized outreach. So we're not mass outreaching. We're like I said, we're hitting very unique lists, very specified placements, and we're only doing, so these are follow-ups. So there's 13,000 outreaches. We've got about a 4% reply rate, and then 272 opportunities. For us, that's way more than $25,000. Each lead is worth about $500 to us, but one sale can be six figures. So if we turn one sale into here, which we did, it's worth significantly more. And part of this is knowing your numbers and knowing how that works. And then on the more advanced side, what we did is you'll see here, each one of these has an email address in front of it. That's actually the salesperson that's assigned to that account. And that's how we're triggering all of these automations. It's being assigned to that individual in Asana with a due date. And you'll see all of these are pretty much, just happened and they're almost ready to go. People just have to tweak them a little bit if they want. And a lot of the advantage here is we really wanted our sales team to put their own voice and style into it, which is another reason why it's not fully automated, is because I can fully automate my voice because I can train it and it is trained more on my style. But we have reporters and broadcasters and professional writers on staff that want to curate it in a more personalized way on top of this. So it's kind of taking that AI assistant versus fully automated. Anyways, let's go in. So now you guys understand the hierarchy and the structure. I'm gonna walk through each step and show you what to do. If you guys have comments or questions on specific sections of this, let me know. I did already make a video on basically Googling API and on Apify just to show you how I'm doing it there. But we'll literally walk through each section to show you. My goal here is maybe not for you to copy this, which you're more than welcome to, but for you to understand why we're doing things in each piece of it. Because I think that these no-code, low-code tools are really powerful once you understand the mindset of what's possible and what tools you should be using. So trigger here instantly. Basically, it's just connecting to our Instantly account. It's triggering on a reply. In there, we're grabbing data from a lead, and then we're continuing. And now we're going into the next step already, which is OpenAI or ChatGPT. Here we're using the classification step, and we're just trying to classify this into hot, just meaning they're high intent. They said, yes, let's book a call. I'm very interested. I'd like to sign up. Those kind of keywords. Hard no is unsubscribe, opt out, not interested, f off, that kind of thing. Soft no is where, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, maybe in the future, but not now. And the reason why we classify soft no is we have a soft no reply, and we actually see a lot of conversions off of our soft no reply. Super simple. We just say, thank you so much, really appreciate it. We'll stop emailing you. However, here's our case studies, and if you have anyone you might recommend in the future, that kind of thing. And then interested, of course, which is the standard, yes, tell me more. So from there, we're actually using the codes. These codes go into Asana and a couple other places, and they're used later on. So that's why we're using codes. There's a reason behind the madness, but for now, it doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of our architecture in the future. And then we're continuing, and then it's going to categorize. And basically, we want to move forward with anything that is not a hard no. So if it's a hard no, it goes to this path, basically just saying continue if hard no. And from there, we're just opting out. So we're using instantly again, and we're using update lead status. And then from there, campaign, email address, unsubscribe. So we're just unsubscribing this person. We're putting them on our block list. We have a master block list. We use a couple instantly accounts. This is a critical part of compliance, and honestly, just not getting bad reviews and turned in for whatever reason. So you really want to respect these opt-outs and unsubscribes. We don't follow up with an email. We remove them. We permanently block them. And this is a critical piece of just doing business right. So the next piece in here is we're going into that enrichment part. And in my opinion, this was something that was newer to me. This is what I'm excited to share. And I think this is where that value really comes, because if you can enrich those replies even just a little bit, you won't get, hey, did you even look me up? And with canned responses, you get that all the time. People can tell their canned responses. So you want to avoid that. So I already showed this, but basically we're just grabbing the website and we're just converting it into output. And I gave it an example, and I said I only want to output a specific thing. Now you can use JSON in here, which is just basically a low code language that I'll tell it way more specifically what you want that output to look like. I don't use it as much just because I can use language and it works for me just fine. But if you find that, hey, it keeps putting like information ahead of time or after, JSON would be the answer, and just ChatGPT it, it'll automatically do it for you. Okay. Then in here, Apify. So you'll have to integrate Apify, of course, with Zapier or whatever tool you're using, and then scrape single URL, super simple. And then you just take that URL. So again, this is why we had to enrich it, because not our URLs were formatted in that style. And then it's going to crawl that website and give you results. And basically, if this fails, it will continue anyways. So what we're doing is we have a backup here of a different way. So sometimes this fails, sometimes it doesn't, but we figured might as well gather double information. So we're using Serper.Dev, so the cool thing about Serper.Dev is it's super cheap. I think it's like you get 2,500 free. So we just started using this. This has all been free tokens, and then topping up's really affordable, and basically it's enriching this data for us by using Google through API through webhook. Not an affiliate of Serper.Dev, but it was just super simple to set up. So I'll have that up in a second. Basically in here, we're going to use a Zapier webhooks. There's no native integration. If you're using something like Make, you could use Perplexity. So if you're using something like Make, you can use Perplexity, which is going to be a very similar thing. It's a more natural language model that outputs Google and links and things like that. So in Zapier, unfortunately, there is no Perplexity, and I didn't want to deal with the AI or the API of getting that to work. So I just did Serper.Dev, which is literally just Googling it through a webhook. Again, it's super fast, really efficient. And basically all you have to do for this setup is, this is what the webhook looks like. You're going to put it as a post. And then in here, you're going to use this URL. So Google Serper.Dev.search. And then this is where that JSON comes into play. So JSON, query, company name is what we're looking up. And then here's the company name that we're actually Googling. This is what's going to basically be Googled. So you can change this to whatever you want. And this can be used pretty much in any of your automations to enrich any data based on Google results, which is super powerful. One of the things that is coming, or is a little bit more complicated through API, is you can do this through API, but this is a cheaper, more affordable, quicker kind of process. And then we leave all this the same. And then you're just going to put your header. These headers are copy and paste. And then this is your API key. And then this just stays the same. So you're just going to use all of these, and this is your API key. Exactly like that. And then basically you get Google results in here, and it'll show you all the links it did and things like that. And you can continue. Now the magic is taking this information and we're inputting it and saying, hey, you're an SDR, you're doing research on this company, make a company description. And we're going to use that company description later on through our automation to enrich that data. So in here, this is how I set it up: executive, job title. The more you give it, the better. And then here is all of the research we did from the Apify for the website scraping, and then from Google for that search. So this is part of just being clean, is I'm breaking it up into different little pieces and summarizing again, and then hit continue. Then we're doing this exact same thing again. We're doing another webhook, and we're searching the executive's name. So I like to search the executive's name with their job title and the company, so that way I don't get another person by accident, and it's more personalized to not just that person, but also the business. So if you Google me, it might not necessarily be related to my main company, which is AutoPR, which is probably what you're doing outreach for. So instead of searching Scott Bartnick, which you might get a whole bunch of different stuff, you might research, Scott Bartnick, CEO at AutoPR, which is what we're doing here. Okay, then we're summarizing again using just conversation and putting that in there and giving, basically, this is the organic snippet from the Google search. Then this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. I had to train a custom AI on our case studies. So the reason why I like GPT Trainer is because I can link it to all of our case study pages through the sitemap. So in here, I'll show you what this looks like, and then I'll show you the GPT Trainer. So in here, we have basically the queries, what we're looking up, and saying, give us a matching case study. We can get one, we can get two, however you program it is how it's going to work. So GPT Trainer, this one I do have an affiliate link for. I have been very happy with GPT Trainer. It's pretty affordable. You don't have to use it. There's other ways to do this. Any chatbot basically will work. So AutoPR case study example. So we're coming in here, and you can see it's a newer one that we've just started using. And then in here, you'll come in and create your AI agent. So here is the description. I use ChatGPT to create a lot of these descriptions and basically come into some details. If you guys want these prompts, go ahead and comment below, or when you subscribe, email me. I can send them and put them into our knowledge base. But I'm templating exactly what I want it to look like. I'm giving examples. I'm being specific. So this piece of it does take a little bit of time just to curate exactly what you're looking for and coaching it through that. I'm using the GPT 4o 8K. So one of the cool things about all of these models and responses is as soon as a new model comes out and it gets a little bit better, if you just go in and change the actual model of that language, your responses just got 5% better, 10% better, 20% better. So this is what this looks like in here. I have a little bit of creativity and temperature, which is basically 0 would be no creativity, respond the exact same pretty much every time, whereas 1 is full creativity. We're about halfway there. So sources, again, this is one of the things I like in here. If I add a source, I can do a sitemap. And so you basically take your sitemap. I gave it the sitemap of all of our case studies. And I also gave it a Word document with some examples. Actually, I think this is just case studies. So here's just all our case studies by landing page. I tried to import our 80,000 PR successes and it did not. The tool that I was trying to export it from didn't work, so I'm gonna get that in there as well. But those are links to all of our case studies. So basically, this knows more about our case studies than I do at this point, which is really cool because the team can just come in here and ask, hey, I'm trying to close Wells Fargo. What's a good case study for me? And I'll pump up an answer for you. And you can always use this preview in here and say, and I spelled it wrong, but that's okay. This piece of it is super important for how we're going to sell in the future. And we're going to reuse this chat piece across multiple platforms. So people ask for case studies all the time. Sometimes the salesperson doesn't know the best one. They can literally be in here live and grab a case study. All right. So this obviously is simple on this side, but more complicated on the other side. Now, same thing in GPT Trainer, we're actually creating a custom reply now. So it's a different trainer in here. Basically, each one of these is an AI model that we've trained. So instantly SDR. Setup's almost exactly the same. We're gonna come in here. I have a whole bunch of sources on my entire company, including case studies. You can see I have over 100 sources. I have a knowledge base. That's one of the key things here is we have all of our knowledge, basically any conversation. So you need things like this, FAQs, all that's put into here, even our terms of service. So that way this AI is trained on, it knows as much as I do pretty much. And if it starts answering something wrong, I'm monitoring it, I'm getting reports, and I will go in and fix it. So in here, we're very similar. We're giving it a playbook, telling it you're a sales professional, blah, blah, what your role is, as detailed as possible. Again, you can use AI to, first off, what would it be an amazing SDR? What are some really good response styles? How should they talk? How should they be concise? All of this. So we're training it exactly how we want it to look. You notice this one's a slightly less creative just because I want it to follow this a little bit more. It's telling us exactly what to do. I'm telling it how long I want the words to be, when to use links, what tense to use, whether it's saying, we, the company, I as a representative, because it's responding as a salesperson, telling it to sign off as that salesperson, telling it to use case studies. Our most common use case examples in here with where to fill in that customization, your niche, all these little things in here. I even had to tell it, it was responding with your name sometimes if it didn't know the name. So I told it I had it default to auto PR team. So all these little nuances. And again, I'm happy to send this to you guys. If you ask, just hit me up as an email or in the comments below. But you will need to subscribe. So I would subscribe and just email me. That's gonna be the best way. And then that's what that looks like. Again, same thing here. You can preview it and that's really it. You just need sources, set your agent, and then preview. I'm moving fast, but I'm hoping that this just gives you ideas and you guys can come back as you work through each step of it. And then, so that's gonna give us our reply. Now comes the easier part. We're just formatting things. This is formatting the date that we actually get a reply. So that way I can set a due date. I give my sales team 2 days. So I'll just show you anyways. So it's taking today's date, adding 2 days to it, setting a format. So that way they have 2 days to respond, which we ask them to do same day, but on weekends and stuff like that, it's nice to have that 2-day flexibility. And we're going towards shorter and shorter time responses, but pretty much our team has their pipelines closed out daily. And we're just formatting. Let's see, I think this is extract email. So we're grabbing from that campaign name that I showed you earlier, we're grabbing that email. And the reason why we're grabbing the email is we're then looking it up on a spreadsheet. So we're doing a lookup spreadsheet row. In here, we're looking for that salesperson based on the output before, and it's all formatted and clean. So it's looking at that person. The reason why we're looking at that person is we're grabbing their calendar link, their name, all of that, which is important later on in the responses. And then the rest of this is mostly formatting. So I will still show you just because I think it's important. We wanted this to come out in HTML with line breaks. And then in here, we're taking the calendar link and we're adding in the UTMs and their smart code. So basically, this is their individual calendar link landing page, the UTMs for Instantly AI, and then specifically this workspace, and then who is responding on that behalf. So in this case, it's Mark, one of our salespeople, and it's using their smart UTM and giving them their full name. So we're telling the bot that they're gonna go do an audit check later of the response, make sure that it has all of these pieces in there. So it's just gonna make sure that it's signed by Mark and it has this calendar link. And there's a response and the reply. So we're kind of almost auditing and double checking here. And then the next step is formatting this into plain text. So now we have that, we're just putting it into plain text as well. Because you notice in the response, we wanted to make it easy for the team to read the response and then just copy and paste if they were ready. So this was just, a lot of these steps don't need to be done, but we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for our team. And some of these prompts are pretty simple here. I'm just kind of scrolling through at this point so you guys can see it. And then I believe this is literally just a double check of the reply to make sure that it's all formatted correctly, no HTML, it's clean, and I honestly might be a duplicate of that. And then the last step is we're taking all of these pieces and putting it into Asana. The reason why we're using Asana is we can do dashboards, we can project manage, we can see time to close, we can see who has the most open tickets, and then most importantly, we can use that and then we'll take another automation on top of it. And if they want to click a button, say send reply, we can do that through that action. So it's another option to get it further automated. Now we could fully automate this entire system, have it respond, but even at a 95% success rate, it's still better to get that little bit of human touch, especially when it's going out in your closers' names because they're building relationships. You don't want to burn lists. I still think this is a really good marry of getting the best response, getting someone to audit it and hit send. You could use a VA for this, just really depends on what your team looks like. So here's what it looks like. We're taking all that formatting, the workspace, the name of the project, the date that we formatted. So all of this is now coming in a line, who it's assigned, or the lead's email. Basically, here's all of the message that's coming in. It's all about there. We have that enriched data so that they can quickly look at it as well. So they don't have to go Google that lead if they want to make any changes and they want to fact check who it's being assigned to. So this is the individual's custom code that they did on the lookup before from our lookup spreadsheet. And then the HTML, which is this piece is really important because when we fully automate it or we give them that button, we need this specific piece of it. This thread is just so someone can quickly look up and see it. And subject obviously is just subject from. So this is just us formatting it the way we want to format it, what the category looks like. And I remember that categories are numbered in Asana, and that's why we have it numbered here, is so that it will come up and be tagged in Asana. And then that's ultimately the entire automation. And you'll see that it is flowing over here and it's being formatted like this. It gives us each of those columns in depth and those tagging right there. So hot, soft, no. And this allows us to filter by leads and you can just look historically. And basically we've been doing this for a while and we like using Asana. You can use any project management tool. We've gotten about 1,000 complete in this system so far. So really cool. You can see the dashboard. You can see, who's getting the most replies and what all of this looks like. It looks like I got one in there, so I'll go take care of that in a second. But that's really it. If you guys like content like this, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel. And if you want copies of this material or anything else, I have a whole bunch of freebies down below, including free PR, lead list, automations, tools, discount codes, a whole bunch of stuff. So make sure to grab that. Until next time, thank you.